All right. 1 Corinthians 15 and 58. You heard it already today. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. You may be seated. Okay, so if I had to put a title on it, I would say what to do when life doesn't look like you think it should or like God told you it would look like. This word is not just for adults. It's not just for kids. I think it's across the board. We have all been in situations where God told you something, and you don't always have to have a prophecy. Like somebody doesn't have to call you up here and tell you what God said in order for it to be a promise from God. Can you hold your Bible up, Pastor Rick? That whole book is a book of promises to you. If you believe in God and you call Jesus Christ your Savior, that book is all your promises. It contains every promise that God has made to you. Okay? So, God has made you promises. God promises to take care of you. Okay? But God does ask some things from us. Now, y'all know I like to tell a story from the Bible because I think a lot of times, we read the Bible, but we don't use it as much as we should, and we don't use it to help us like it really can. We read it because somebody said you should read your Bible if you're a good Christian. So you read it, but are you getting anything out of it? So I try to dig into the stories and feel like, what is God trying to tell us out of the stories? And then I do my best to kind of put it in my own words so it makes sense to me. So hopefully my words make sense to y'all, okay? All right, so y'all follow me. All right, y'all heard of the story of Joseph and the coat of many colors. The title doesn't really tell you about the story. It's Joseph, and he got a pretty coat with colors. That's nice. Okay. So I'm going to give you a quick version of the story. The story is really, really long, and I'm going to post it. Hopefully this week I'm going to post the whole story so y'all can get all of it in the background, but I'm going to do a condensed version today, okay? All right, so, and I think it's going to help y'all kind of understand and bring the points home, okay? So Joseph was born. We're going to start from the very beginning, all right? Joseph was born, and his birth was really exciting. God decides, who's special. He does. He decides you're special and important. It's not people that decide whether you're special or important. Joseph was the, 11th or 12th kid of his father's. So who is really that important, 11 or 12 down the line? But God brought Joseph, his father's Jacob, his mother's Rachel. Okay? Rachel, they didn't think she could have any kids. All right? So now, y'all know back in the day, the Bible was a little different. They had multiple wives and all that stuff. That we ain't doing that, okay? So, in the Bible, Jacob had Rachel. Rachel, she hadn't had any children. Leah, his other wife, had tons of kids. So, Jacob been a father before. Joseph comes along, not expected. He is smitten with Joseph, okay? Joseph lived a whole nother life from all the rest of his brothers. His brothers, they worked the land. They sweating. They coming home tired after work. Joseph sits up with his daddy, and he's teaching him to read, and he's teaching him to write, and he's learning all of these things that his brothers have not been privy to. They didn't get to do any of this stuff. So, can you imagine your little brother? You like, why he don't have to work with us? So that caused some jealousy, some friction between the brothers, okay? They did not like Joseph, all right? They had no love for Joseph. Not to mention this coat of many colors I talked about earlier. Joseph was maybe around 17 or so. His dad gave him this beautiful coat. You had like umpteen kids before. Ain't nobody else get a coat. Why I can't get a coat? So they feel some type of way. They get together and they're like, I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of this foolishness. We going to have to get rid of him. He got to go. Okay? So it's harsh. I don't know. I have some harsh feelings to some people sometimes, but I don't want to just get rid of them. They put Joseph in a pit. Okay? I have never even seen a pit before. I mean, I know some of y'all work in construction and y'all did some other stuff in life, but outside of a movie, I've never even seen a pit, okay? They drop their brother in the pit and wait for the Ishmaelites. When y'all hear the story, it'd be a little different because that's really their cousins. It's real strange. Okay, I'm telling y'all, the Bible read like a soap opera. Y'all need to get into it. It's entertaining. So they wait for the Ishmaelites to come about, and they sell their brother to the Ishmaelites so that they can sell him into slavery. They took money and said, here go our brother. All right? I couldn't fathom that as Joseph. Like, I know y'all ain't like me that much, but I don't think y'all just sell me around. Like, this just forever? I know. I don't know how I would feel about it. So, anyway, they sell him. They take his coat. They throw animal blood on it. Take it back to his daddy. Oh, some animals must have killed Joseph. I just don't know. You know, he gone. He ain't coming back. The daddy is inconsolable, okay? He said, when I go to my grave, I will still be grieving my child. He loved his child, and he's taken away from him. So now Joseph is headed to Egypt, okay? He ain't been nowhere. He's going somewhere without his family. Mind you, he like 17. And he is going to be sold into slavery. He's lived this cushy life. He ain't prepared for slavery. He ain't prepared for no hard work. So I can't imagine how scary that was. I mean, at my age, if you told me my life was going to change like that overnight, I don't know how I would react. Okay? So he's headed to Egypt. Sell him into slavery. Now, mind you, before he left, another thing that really, really took his brothers to the edge, he was having these crazy dreams. And the dreams said that one day they were all going to bow to him. They were like, I know he done lost his mind. So at this point, that really took them. They was like, yep, to the pit, gotta go. We ain't doing this no more. So while Joseph is headed on his way to Egypt, to slavery, he's got this dream in his head. God told me they're going to bow to me. How is that going to happen now? How is that possibly happen? Like, well, they ain't got to bow to me, but I don't want to go to slavery either. So they headed there. Joseph was always favored, okay? Joseph gets there to be sold into slavery. And Joseph doesn't get sold to a field hand or, someone way off in the land. Joseph is sold to Potiphar. And Potiphar is a really, really important man in Egypt, okay? He works under Pharaoh. So Joseph, again, sold into slavery away from his home. They don't even speak the same language, okay? And he gets put in Potiphar's house. Now, Joseph could have been so angry and so upset about what his brothers did to him that he said, I'm just going to try to make it. I'm just going to do enough. But that's not what Joseph did. Wherever he was, he did everything as unto God. Okay? Everything he did, he still did it as if he was doing it directly to God, not for man. In doing his best, he caught the eye of Potiphar. And Potiphar was like, wow, you really work hard. You taking care of my house. And then he noticed, he was like, everything this man touched, it prospers. So if everything he touched in Potiphar's house prospers, that means Potiphar is getting more and more wealthy by the day. So he's like, okay, I think it's going to be my guy. He takes the slave and basically gives him the key to the house. You're going to take care of everything. You're going to take care of my money, my workers, everything that I have to do. I'm handing it to you to do whatever you like. All right, I could. He's 17. You're right. He's 17, 18 years old. He's a kid with control of someone's house. Now, mind you, he's a slave in somebody else's land, okay? So he's got a little hope back. All right, okay, well, all right, God. It's not what I thought it was going to be, but I can handle it. It's okay. Y'all, The whole bottom is getting ready to drop out for Joseph. Okay? Life was going real well. Now, remember, like Miss Shirley just said, Joseph is about 17, 18, something like that. He's a nice-looking man. Yeah, he's real nice-looking. He catches the eye of Potiphar's wife. Okay? Now, I guess Potiphar, in her opinion, wasn't enough for her. So, she got an eye on Joseph, and y'all understand she wasn't getting Joseph pants, okay? Y'all got that, okay? All right. You heard what I said, didn't you? All right. So, he's like, no. Back up. Potiphar has been way too good to me for me to say I'm going to betray him. It's not an option. So she's like, do you know who I am? And Potiphar's wife, I mean, she hot. She's salty now, and she rejected. So she got get back in her now. Yeah, scorn. Oh, Lord, a scorn woman. They act up. I'm going to say they. All right, so that woman, she was ready. All right. Potiphar comes, and she's like, Joseph tried to take advantage of me. Joseph said, you touch her. So, I mean, reading the story, the gist I got was Potiphar was kind of side-eyeing his wife like, I know you. But what does it look like for Potiphar to believe the slave over his wife? So he got to send Joseph to prison. Okay? Now, he could have killed him, but he sent him to prison. And I mean, Joseph, I know he got to be like, well, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I was kind of comfortable. You sent me to prison and I didn't even do anything. Like, I did nothing. And you sent me to prison. All right, so Joseph could have given up again. He could have said, I ain't do nothing. You ain't helping me. I'm in a strange land. They don't even believe in you over here. So why should I follow you? Why should I be obedient? Why should I do the things that God has asked me to do? He really could have gave up. But in Joseph's form, God elevates him. Joseph has favor with the head jailer. Okay? And the head jailer makes him head of all the prisoners. I don't know how. And okay, now, ain't that much time passed. Okay? Still back 17, 18. A long time has not passed. Okay? He's still a kid. And he keeps getting all of this responsibility and all this trust in the midst of places where he should be just torn down. Okay? So please remember, wherever you go, God is there. But God also expects you to be who he called you to be, no matter where you go. No matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter that they did you wrong or they mistreated you. God still expects you to be the person he asked you to be. All right? So he could have said, I ain't doing nothing. I ain't helping these people. He could have started mistreating people himself because he was being mistreated. But he was still helping people. He was still doing what God wanted him to do. So there were two prisoners, and they came from the palace. They used to work in the palace, and he interpreted their dreams for them. Now, y'all go in the video. I'll tell y'all about the dream, and we'll talk about the whole dream. But the dreams basically said, for one of them, for the baker, he told him, hey, your dream is saying in 3 days, Pharaoh's going to come, and he's going to take you out of here. He told the cupbearer or the butler, in 3 days, Pharaoh's going to come get you too. He's going to bring you out of here. The baker, he's going to kill you. The butler, he's going to restore you to your position, and you're going to work in Pharaoh's house. You're not going to have any problems. So, I mean, I'm sure they were like, okay. I'm sure the baker ain't want to hear none of that. So, 3 days happened just like he said. Joseph tells the butler, hey, don't forget me. Tell Pharaoh about me. I've been stolen from my land. I don't belong here. I didn't do anything to anybody. Don't forget me. I'm sure he's screaming, don't forget me. Okay? Okay, now, the butler didn't forget him. It just took him 2 years to to remember him. So about 2 years later, and again, I'm sure Joseph was having some discouraging moments because I just saw you leave. I helped you. And 2 years down the road, I ain't seen nor heard from you, and I'm still in prison. Okay? So 2 years later, Pharaoh has some dreams, and they tearing him up. He's asking all the wise men and the magicians, everybody, he's asking them, can y'all tell me what my dream is? He can't sleep because of this dream. So the cupbearer or the butler, he remembers, oh, Joseph, he told me about his dream. He could probably help you. All right, so he called him up, clean him up, make him all shiny and nice, bring him up to the palace. Pharaoh said, you could tell me about my dream. Nobody else has been able to tell me about my dream. He said, well, it's not really me, but God can tell you. So tell me about your dream. So he tells Pharaoh about his dream, and he tells him that his dreams are from God, and they're telling him what's going to happen. And the dreams were telling him that they was going to have 7 years, 7 good years. Everything was going to grow. It was going to flourish. Everything was going to be awesome. They weren't going to want for anything. And after those 7 years were done, there were going to be 7 years of famine. Famine, devastation, no food, everything dying. Okay? Pharaoh was like, what you want me to do with that? And Joseph is like, wait. This is what God wants you to do about it. He said, you need to find the wisest man in the land, and you need to pick him to take over during the 7 years of the good stuff. When the good times are rolling, you need to have that man open up storehouses, and he's going to take a portion of all of the grains and all of the goods and everything that's growing, and he's going to put them away in these storehouses all over the land. Okay? So that when the bad years come, we can feed our people, and we'll make it through those 7 years. Pharaoh was like, okay, I like that. Okay. So Pharaoh said, Joseph, you're going to be that guy. I don't know if y'all missed it during that last part of the story. Joseph woke up in prison and went to sleep in the palace. He woke up a prisoner, went to sleep a ruler. Wherever you are, it does not matter what the circumstances are. God can cause anything to happen in your life. It doesn't matter. Joseph is in a land that is not his. Yes, and he will turn it around for your good. You are completely correct. It doesn't matter what's happened, what's been taken away from you, where you are. It can be the worst situation. But if you trust in God and you keep doing what he asked you to do, you keep being faithful, God will deliver you. Not only did he deliver him, but he put him up. So he didn't just give him the job. He made him ruler over the entire nation of Egypt. He's not Egyptian. The only person he answered to was Pharaoh. All right? Now, again, you were a slave this morning. And a prisoner this morning and a slave not too long before that. So God wants us to stay the course. But imagine if Joseph had not been faithful in prison. If he had not continued to love on people and care for people and do the things that God has asked him to do. He would have never interpreted the prisoner's dreams. I want to talk to y'all. I'm in prison. Life don't get no worse. I'm going to be here outside of death. I don't know. And maybe he wanted to die at some point. You took me away from this lavish life I was living with my daddy. Because you could have been like, God, the dream you gave me, it don't look like none of this. This is not what you told me. So you kind of feeling like, God, did you lie to me? Are you toying with me? Are you messing with me? But sometimes things don't look like what we think they should look like. But God still wants us to be faithful. God needs to know that he can trust you. Okay? If something get taken away from you, are you going to leave God? Are you going to determine that I'm no longer going to follow you? I'm no longer going to be obedient? So God, he gives us stages, you know? He lets us pass stages. Okay, all right. You built a little integrity. You built a little strength. Now I can move you to the next level. And a lot of times we miss that. And we got to start over. Okay? So God's going to do his part. It's a matter of you doing your part. Okay? Are you going to shift out of line? Are you going to make it take longer? Are you going to completely throw your hands up and give up? Joseph did not do that. I mean, listening to this story, I know he had to have some crazy thoughts, y'all. But he stayed the course. And the Bible is there to show us if they did it, we can too. Okay? All right, so back to our story, all right? So Joseph is in Egypt, and I mean, he's straight running the show, okay? He got control of everything, just like in Potiphar's house, just like in the jail. Like, he is always favored. There has not been a time that God has not been there with him, okay? He never leave him. How do you say? He never leave me nor forsake me? No, he didn't do it. So he's given this great responsibility, and even though he was put in really uncomfortable positions, God was preparing him for his ultimate role. So while you're complaining about where God has you, you know, he may be using that very place to catapult you into your destiny. Okay? Joseph could not have become ruler over Egypt in the land of his father. It was not possible. They're not coming over to Canaan saying, hey, we're looking for a ruler. So God had to shift some things around, and sometimes that puts us in some really uncomfortable places. But you have to stay the course. You have to keep being obedient. You have to keep doing what he tells you to do. Okay? So, story ain't over quite yet. The famine hits. He had 7 good years. He took care of everything. He did everything just like he was supposed to do. When the 7 bad years hit, he opens the storehouses and starts portioning out the food to the people in Egypt. But the famine does not just hit Egypt. It hits all over. Okay? So if you're going to live and you're going to survive and you're going to save your family, you're going to have to come to Egypt to get something. When you come to Egypt, you're going to have to go through Joseph. Okay? So, while it's hitting the land, it hits the land of his father. His father sends his brothers, hey, if y'all don't go get some food from Egypt, we're going to die. All right? So now, during this time, remember the famine was we had 7 years? He had 2 years, another 2 years in prison, 7 years, and this is just an estimate, okay? So he was about 17 when he left, had another 2 or 3 years between Potiphar's house and prison. We had another 7 good years, so what, he about 39 or so? Because about 2 years in, his family couldn't make it no more. They had to come to Egypt, all right? So he about 39, because he was about 30 when Pharaoh gave him what he was giving him, okay? When he gave him all that responsibility, he was about 30. This is a young man, okay? So the brothers show up, all right? He ain't seen his brothers in forever. Last time he saw his brothers, they were selling him into slavery, all right? Now, remember, God has been building Joseph up, okay? He's been building up this forgiveness and this integrity and who he is in God. Like, you sold me into slavery, I ain't got nothing for you. Don't talk to me. Like, I don't believe that they could have dealt with each other a month after they sold him into slavery. Okay? Joseph wasn't going to have nothing for them. Okay? I mean, I love Jesus. He loved me, but I wasn't going to do it. You wasn't going to be don't come say nothing to me. Going back there, all of y'all, rot, whatever. But God took that time and he built something up in Joseph. Okay? When his brothers showed up, they didn't know who he was. Okay? Remember, they cleaned him up. He dressed like an Egyptian. And they don't speak the same language, so he probably had an interpreter. And now Pharaoh has changed his name. When he changed his title, he gave him this responsibility. He named him, I'm going to make sure I don't mess it up, Zephanath-Paneah was what he named him, okay? They don't know nobody by that name. So they come in and they bow before him. Joseph's dream, just like he said it, just like God told him it was going to happen. They bowed before him. They didn't even know who he was, okay? Bowed before him. God is not a lie. God's promises are true. They will come to pass. But you have to do your part. Okay? You can't jump out of line. You can't decide, I'm going to flip the script. You ain't doing what I want to do, so I'm just going to do what I want to do. You can't do that. It's not going to work. Because then all this stuff God done set up, you ain't going to hit none of this stuff. So eventually he tells his brother who he is. He toyed with him a little bit. But eventually he tells his brothers who he is, and you can imagine that they are in shock because they probably thought their brother was dead and gone. Sold you into slavery, this little scrawny 17-year-old, he probably ain't make it through the first year. So the Bible says they couldn't even find words to speak because they were like troubled by the fact that he was even there. It's amazing that God can make your present and your future so amazing that you can forget all of your past hurts, all of your past pains. You can forget everything anyone has ever done to you, taken away from you, if you allow God to cause that change in you. Now, his brothers, I mean, they shamed. And Joseph, with what God built up in him, he said, don't worry. I know you sold me into slavery, but what you did to hurt me, God used to make sure that I could pave the way for each and every one of you. So now that you can't take care of yourself, God made sure that I was going to be here so that you could survive, so our family could survive, so our bloodline would survive through this famine. Joseph had enough in his heart, because he could have sent him away. Wasn't nobody going to say nothing to him. He was running Egypt. He had enough in his heart not to just feed them, but he said, hey, is my father still alive? Go back and get my father. Go get all y'all family, and y'all bring them back here. Y'all can come live with me. Pharaoh, now mind, you know, Joseph, he carried weight in Egypt now, okay? So Pharaoh hears about what's going on, and he was like, oh, Joseph, them your people? Okay, all right. He said, oh, no, we just can't. Joseph people ain't going to just come back. You know, y'all ain't going to walk back here or nothing. Y'all ain't going to struggle like that. He said, we're going to send y'all with carts and animals and food, because we don't want your children and your women, they can't just walk back. We want them comfortable. So Pharaoh makes sure he had the best of the best. And he said, y'all don't even bring none of y'all stuff with y'all. Y'all don't bring none of that. Y'all good. We got everything y'all need here because y'all connected to Joseph. Okay? So they come back. And they live, and y'all heard Pastor and I know Khalil talk about Goshen. And it was a long time. I was like, Goshen, that's, I don't know. They live in the land of Goshen. But I did not know what they were talking about. If y'all did, I'm so proud of you Bible scholars, but I did not have a clue. Okay? Goshen is where Joseph's family came to stay in Egypt. It was a land of plenty. It had everything they needed, everything they ever wanted, okay? God kept his promise to Joseph. Again, What are you going to do when life does not look like you think it should look? Are you going to stay in line? Are you going to let God lead you? I want to do a quick demonstration. Jay, can you grab those guys for me? Kayla, you're going to come. I told Kayla she was going to help me, but I did not tell her what because I wanted to be as, organic, is that the word? as possible. Okay? So stay there. Close your eyes. Mm-hmm. Make sure they can see yourself. You read upside down? Okay, so a lot of times in life, we know God has promised us something. All of my gentlemen in the middle, put your signs down, like so nobody can see them, like they can't read them. That's all of y'all. Put them down so nobody can see them. Okay? So when Kayla opens her eyes, I don't want her to be able to read what's on your paper. All right, so Kayla, you're going to look all the way over there at your daddy. Right. What does it say?
Promise.
Promise. Okay? So we see the promise. God has told us the promise. All right? So, you see it? All right. Okay. So, I'm God today, y'all. Okay. All right. So, you're going to point your sign forward, gentlemen. All right. You see the promise. What would be the easiest way to get there?
Just go straight.
Straight through there, right? Okay. Now, what if those things move?
Another way.
Well, how you going to do that?
Won't know until it happens.
Okay. So, clearly, she did not ask God for help. So, when you have God helping you, you'll know. You guys can move around a little bit if you want. And if I have God, we're going to go this way. We're going to go this way. Okay, it won't hit me. It won't go this. Okay, I got it. Oh, shoot. Oh, uh-oh. All right, we made it through. We made it through. We made it through. And she made it to the promise. Now, come on. Back on over. All right. So, sometimes we try to go it without God. Okay? It's not very promising, but you see the promise still, right? Okay. I want you to close your eyes. Keep them closed. Keep them closed. You saw where the promise was, right? Go find it. Keep your eyes closed. You can't see without God. Keep your eyes closed. Okay. Open your eyes. Did you make it where you wanted to go? No. You cannot. Thank you, gentlemen. You cannot make it where you want to go. Thank you. Yes. Please give my wonderful assistants a hand. You cannot make it where you want to go without God's help. Okay? You can keep trying, but there are pitfalls all through life. I don't care if you walk with them or don't. But God can shift you through them. He can move you around them. And he's preparing you the whole time. These things are happening. It's like little threads that he's putting together, like for the fabric of like your whole life and where he's trying to take you. So a lot of times we think stuff happens to me and God has changed his mind. Okay? God has not changed his mind about you. Whatever he has said is for you, it is for you. Okay? I don't care if you failed out of school. I don't care if you've been raped, molested, beat, left, abused, fired, whatever. When things get taken away from us, sometimes we feel like God changed his mind because we needed that thing to get us to the promise. Whatever that was, we had to have it. You never needed the thing. Whatever it was, you never needed it. All you needed was God. All you needed to do was to do what he said do. Follow him. He'll supply every one of your needs. Everything you need. Joseph didn't have to ask for anything. God kept laying it in his lap. Here you go. Here you go. And ultimately, that man couldn't have asked. I don't care what his daddy, how much his daddy loved him, how much he favored him. There was no way in the world that Joseph was going to end up in the position that he ultimately took. Okay? There is nothing that we can do. So while we're saying we're doing things as unto God and we're giving our all, when you're doing things as unto God, you do them in excellence. That is extremely important. God needs to know that he can trust you at every level. Okay? So sometimes you're like, okay, well, God, you said, I'm going to speak to millions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. All I am is taking care of these kids every day, washing these dishes, going to work every day. I can't stand this job. It may be while you're doing that very thing that God changes your life. God changed Joseph's life when he was just doing what God told him to do. He wasn't living no abundant, awesome, amazing life. And it was like, okay, you know, you look at stuff and our general understanding is, okay, you do this and then this happens. You do this and this happens. And you move stages, and life does not always happen like that. It throws some curveballs at you, and it's just not that exciting sometimes. But if you keep trusting God, he'll take you there. God, like, I'll give myself as an example. Earlier this week, I was scrubbing a toilet. Okay? Yesterday, I was talking to kids. And today, I'm speaking to you. God needs to know in each and every one of those positions, each and every one of those levels, that I am going to give my all and do it as if I am doing it directly to him. If I'm cleaning that toilet needs to be white and shining. If I'm messing with those kids out there, I'm trying to teach them, I want to make sure they learn, I have to be prepared. I have to do all those things as if I am speaking to millions of people. When I'm here talking, I have to make sure that I'm prepared and that I am doing it as if I'm still talking to those millions of people. God needs you to show up every time at any level, okay? Sometimes we get consumed with our circumstances and the foolishness that comes our way and the frustration and your kids acting up and maybe, you know, your finances not right, whatever. You know, we get frustrated and we forget that God has us, and those things are not what keep us. And those things, that causes fear, and we shift out of the way. We start moving out of where he asked us to be, start trying to fix stuff by ourselves. Like, oh, well, he's not moving quick enough, so I'll do it myself. I want to just convey, don't let your feelings, you have to move past them. We have to become disciplined enough that our emotions will not allow us to shift out of where God has for us. or we'll never make it to the promise. If Joseph had the same attitude that a lot of us have, he would have never made it to his appointed position. He would have never been able to save his entire family. Okay? We have to remember that God has need of us. But first, he needs us to be obedient. He needs us to follow along and do what he says and live that life that is pleasing unto him and carry the character of Christ. When I say carry the character of Christ, I want to make sure that I'm clear. You should resemble Jesus. Jesus loved people. Jesus loved people even when they didn't love him. When they mistreated him, he loved them. He wanted to help them. God requires that of us, no matter what is happening, no matter the circumstance. We try to understand God's plan with our, itty-bitty brains. And I think you guys are smart and intelligent. Don't get me wrong. But we are nothing in comparison to God. Okay? We can never understand, and I won't say never, but sometimes we don't understand why God is doing certain things. As Joseph, could you have understood why you were being sold into slavery? Why your brothers didn't like you? Why people were mistreating you? Why Potiphar's wife lied on him? Why, after all of the good stuff he had did in Potiphar's house, he was in prison? Why did the butler forget him? We have all these whys in life. Why me? I just can't understand. Why can't I have this, God? Why do you want to take this away from me? Why is this happening to me? And we just complaining and complaining and complaining, when our response should be, why, while this is happening to me, God, what are you trying to do through me? Okay? So, main point getting home, all right? Don't get discouraged. Don't let that fear take you over. Keep on the line with God. Don't get out of line. Don't lose hope. Don't give up. You will win. God will take you to the promise. That's it.